Hi everybody, Furata Live here with another Keyforge video. It's another Mass Mutation spoilers video. I'm going to be looking this time at House Dis and some of the new cards that have been revealed and spoiled in just the last few weeks. So Mass Mutations is actually out in some parts of the world, in Hong Kong, in China, in Taiwan. Mass Mutations is out and we're seeing Chinese language decks entered onto the Master Vault. The Master Vault's been updated. We can now see all the cards that are going to be coming in Mass Mutation. But of course, it's not out worldwide yet. July the 10th, that is the big date. That is the date where worldwide Mass Mutation will be coming out. I'm getting so excited about this new set. If you've seen all my videos looking through each of the houses and each of the new sets of cards that have been revealed, I think it's going to be epic. I can't wait to get my hands on new decks coming on July the 10th. Now, let's get into Dis and have a look at some of these cards. First up, you'll have seen them before, and in fact I've done a video on the first deck in Mass Mutation that's gone into the Master Vault with all 7 sins in it. So we now know it is possible to have all 7 of the 7 sins in one deck. You can pull it, it's pretty rare, but we've seen it now. So we knew that if you got one of the 7 sins, you'd get something like 3 to 5 of them, and we know how special rarities have worked in the past. But like I say, we do now know for sure that you can get all 7 sins in a deck if you're very, very lucky. And I think it's worth talking about them, even though we'd seen some of these in the print and play decks and the reveal streams that FFG have done, because these are some pretty powerful cards. And there's a lot of synergies in Dis in Mass Mutation, but the 7 sins in particular stand out. Huge amounts of synergies between them. They've been designed that way. A lot of them play off having other sins out on the board, and they're particularly strong if you have a number in your deck. Just to talk about a few of my favourites, I think Desire certainly is a really strong card. Keys cost +4 amber on both sides, and then with Desire, if you reap, you can forge a key at current cost, reduced by 1 amber for each friendly sin creature. So if you've got a number of sin creatures out on the board, your opponent's keys are costing more, they're probably unlikely to forge, your keys cost more, but then you can use Desire to bring down that key cost and forge, if you've got 3 or 4 sins out on the board at pretty much normal key cost. So that could be a really powerful effect. Then there's a few other crazy things in here. Gluttony, play, exalt Gluttony once for each friendly sin creature. So if you've got, again, 2 or 3 on the board, you're putting 2 or 3 amber on Gluttony. Reap, move each amber from friendly creatures to your pool. Not just from Gluttony, from friendly creatures to your pool. So if this is out with Saurians or Sanctum who are capturing or exalting a lot of amber, and you're reaping with Gluttony, you're going to bring all of that amber back to your pool. That is huge. Envy, it's elusive. If it gets to reap, if there are 2 or more friendly sin creatures, capture all of your opponent's amber. So you're taking all that amber. You know, it's elusive, but it's going to be a must-kill creature for your opponent, because if it gets to reap and you've got any other sins out on the board, you're capturing all their amber. Greed, huge draw impact. During your draw card step, refill your hand to 1 additional card for each friendly sin creature. Now, I particularly like that because it's not reliant on reaping, so the effect comes in straight away. So you get greed down, you get some other sins out, and then at the end of your turn, you're getting that additional draw benefit. And, you know, again, that could be huge if you're able to play 3 or 4 sins in one turn. That would be insane. Pride, we've seen before, reap effect board each friendly sin creature, so if you've got a load of sins out, that's going to be really helpful. And Sloth is an interesting one that got revealed recently. We hadn't seen this before. 5 power. At the end of your turn, if you did not use any creatures this turn, gain 1 amber for each friendly sin creature. So you can play cards, you can play actions, you can use artifacts. You can't use any creatures. But if you've got 3, 4, 5 sins out on the board, you could be getting more amber from just leaving them there and doing nothing. Or you're playing them during the turn. If you haven't used anything else, you're picking up amber. I think the one that really, for me, isn't really cutting it at the moment is Wrath. 3 power, 3 armor, taunt, poison, skirmish, fight for each friendly sin creature, enrage an enemy creature. I mean, it's good, it's useful, it's good to have in there with others, but I think the other 6 sins to me stand out as being that bit more powerful. Now, I've spent quite a bit of time talking about them because I do think these are probably the kind of chase cards in Mass Mutation in the whole set, not just in Dis, in the whole set. I think these are the cards that people are going to be looking to have in their decks. If you get 3 or 4 of them, you know, 3 or 4 good combinations of them, some of the better ones, you could have a really, really powerful deck. And like I say, the synergy between them is absolutely incredible, potentially game breaking, you know, stealing all that amber, moving all that amber into your pool, pumping up key cost, massive impacts. So I think these cards are great. I think this is certainly something I'm going to be looking forward to finding. I really want to get some decks with the Sins in and see how they play. Okay, so these are the mutant creatures, and as you'll know if you've watched any of my other videos, each house has these mutant creatures in it. They're basically part the house that they're in, so Dis here, so they're part fiend, and then part an effect from the other house that combines into this mutant creature. So Dino Fiend has the Saurian effect that all Saurian versions of these cards have. Play, you may exalt Dino Fiend if you do deal 3 damage to a creature. The Fiend effect from Dis is destroyed, steal 1. So you know, you've got these effects across there. Xenofiend has this kind of Star Alliance effect that seems to be their theme for this set, where you can fight, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, put 1 in your hand and 1 on the bottom of your deck. Umbra Fiend, elusive. Sacro Fiend from Sanctum really just gives you a power boost and some armor. So interesting to see. Having mutants in your deck, depending on the other cards you've got, can be quite powerful. Some are better than others. Some of these combinations look stronger than others. The artwork is all pretty good. You can see just the arm is different for each different one of these mutants. Now looking at some other cards in more detail, some of the new creatures, artifacts and actions that have been revealed. This is a new creature, Brabble, 2-power creature. It's an imp. Destroyed, your opponent loses an amber, so that's pretty handy. If it's not your turn, your opponent loses 3 amber instead. So if they kill it, they're going to lose a whole load of amber. That's quite nice. You know, your opponent is going to have to avoid killing it, so it kind of stops them using board wipes and things like that, or if they use a board wipe to clear everything, that's fine, but they're going to lose a load of amber. So Brabble looks like a good card to have out to just disrupt your opponent's plans. I quite like it. I'd be quite keen to have that out on the board. Next up, Drecker. So this is another imp creature. 4 power. Damage dealt to Drecker's neighbours during fights is also dealt to Drecker, so pretty vulnerable. You can fight the creatures next to him and Drecker will get hit. Reap effect, steal 1, so quite a good reap effect, but you're going to have Drecker kept out on board to really use it, and you know, any fighting against his neighbours is going to kill it. So not the strongest card, not the worst card, looks okay. Now, Mark of Dis. This is an action like the kind of Dis frog that we've got on there, quite a nice piece of art. It's got an amber pit, play effect, deal 2 damage to a creature. If it's not destroyed, its controller must choose that creature's house as their active house on the next turn. So that is really nice. That is really nice. That's a bit like a kind of control the weak kind of effect, where you're doing some damage, and as long as it's a bigger creature than 2 power, you're basically being able to force your opponent into a particular house. Now obviously they'll have a creature on the board from that house, so it's not kind of locking them out as such, but it could be quite disruptive. Comes with an amber pip as well. Next up, another action, it's Mindfire, with some really interesting artwork there. Play effect, your opponent discards a random card from their hand, steal 1 amber for each bonus icon on the discarded card. So again, depending on what kind of deck your opponent's using, if you're up against a Mass Mutation deck and it's pretty heavy on enhancements, then this could give you some interesting steal. At the very least, it's going to allow you to discard a card from your opponent's hand, so that's handy anyway. So I quite like this one, quite keen to see this. Now, Stirring Grave, I really think this is a great card. It's a bit like a kind of Exhume, but not quite, from previous sets. It comes with an amber pip, it's an action, play effect, archive a creature from your discard pile. So this is going to let you go digging through your discard pile, pulling out a really key creature that you want. You can't put it straight into play, you can't put it straight in your hand, but you archive it, so you've got it ready for the next turn. So if you're trying to set up a particular play next turn, I think this is good. I think this is a card that's going to favour people who are thinking ahead, who understand their deck. I think this is a good card that better players will be able to make really good use of. Now, Waking Nightmare, another action. It comes with an amber pip and a crazy bit of artwork here of a kind of Sanctum Knight being grabbed by some crazy tentacles. It comes with a capture enhancement as well, so it's got an amber pip and it's put a capture enhancement into your deck. Play. Keys cost +1 for each disc creature in play during your opponent's next turn. So it's basically giving you an immediate 1 turn key cost increase. Yeah, like it. I mean, amber pip, key cost increase. It doesn't persist, the key cost increase, but you know, at a critical moment in a clutch, this could really get you kind of out of jail and prevent your opponent from forging a key for at least 1 turn. Next up, Break Key, another action, and comes with an amber pip. Play. If your opponent has more forged keys than you, unforge an opponent's key. If you unforge an opponent's key this way, your opponent gains 6. So it's a bit like Keyhammer, but better in that you know, it doesn't have to be played immediately after they forged, which I always found really restricted the use of Keyhammer, unless you were kind of holding on to it for ages. At the very worst, it gives you an amber pip. You know, if it unforges a key, you know, again, at the very worst, it just stalls them a turn, and maybe they can forge it. If you can then steal some of that amber, great. If key costs are more than 6, of course, you're unforging a key that they might have paid, say, at 7, 8 or 9 amber for, then you get 6 back. So that's handy. Like this card, I think that's an upgrade on Keyhammer, so happy to see it. Now, Grim Reminder action. And I think this is going to be a super powerful card. Play. Choose a house. Archive each creature of that house from your discard pile. Gain 1 chain. So for gaining 1 chain, you get to archive all of the creatures from a certain house. Again, a bit like Stirring Grave, you know, this is going to let you set up some monster turns, you know, and really cycle and recur creatures from your deck. So, yep, you play out a load of great creatures. Yep, they will get wiped or destroyed. You can just bring them back into your archive, admittedly, so it's going to take another turn to get them back on the board, but you're going to get them into your archive and you're setting yourself up for a big play on the next turn. This, I think, will be a key card in many decks that rely on kind of bringing back a big wave of creatures and dominating the board. So I really like this card. Now, Arun. This is a very strange creature, a mutant changeling, and you can see there in the power slot X, so it doesn't have any defined power. You can deploy it anywhere in your battle line, and its power becomes the combined power of Picaroon's non-changeling neighbours. So you can't put kind of 2 Picaroons together and get a multiplying effect. They've kind of blocked that, but put this between 2 big creatures on the board and you've got a super powerful creature. So that's going to be interesting. I quite like cards that make you think about the state of your battle line, how you've laid things out. I found the kind of group think tank, mini group think tanks really made your opponent think, or if you were up against them, you had to think about the order in which you were playing cards. And this again gets you interacting with the battle line in interesting ways. So I like to see that. I like this card. Obviously, could be super powerful if you get it out between the right pair of cards. Now, another imp. It's Relentless Creeper, 2 power. After you choose this as your active house, you may return Relentless Creeper from your discard pile to your hand. So it's a bit of kind of immediate recursion. Put it out, maybe you fight with it, maybe you reap with it. Even if it gets killed, it's coming back. It's going to keep coming back. I guess that's the theme here. So yeah, nice little card to see. Wail of the Damned. It's an action card. It's put a capture enhancement pip into your deck. Play. Destroy a creature with no bonus icons. So against a kind of non-mass mutation deck, that's going to be pretty much every creature. Pretty powerful effect. And even in mass mutation, plenty of creatures aren't going to have enhancements on them or amber pips of any kind. So yeah, pretty much a free kind of kill card, which will be super useful for taking out certain key creatures that you really don't want to see on the board. Now, an artifact. There's some interesting artifacts in this, in Mass Mutation, and this is one of them, Eatons Jar. Play, name a card. Until Eatons Jar leaves play, cards with that name cannot be played. So, if you know and have seen your opponent's deck list, and you know they've got some key cards, you can name that card and they can't play it. So if they're using a combo deck, you know, Martian Generosity, Key Abduction, something like that. You can just name Key Abduction, they can't play the card. If they haven't got any artifact control, they're never going to be able to play that card until it leaves play. So you can lock opponents out of certain cards. Now I think that is super powerful. It could be super disruptive. It's actually going to cause a lot of problems for people using combo decks that rely on 1 or 2 key cards to get their combo off, because this could completely block you, and it's going to mean those combo decks need some artifact control to be effective against Mass Mutation Dis that might have Eatons Jar. Even if it's not a combo deck you're up against, you can see that calling Miasma or something like that, it's going to stop your opponent blocking you. You can think of all sorts of things. If you know they've got a super powerful creature, if you know they've got Profectus Ludo that they're going to rely on to protect Amber on Saurians, well, again, you can block that card from being played. So I think this is a fantastic artifact, and again, it's really going to mess with some people and some game plans of your opponents. So I think that could be super good. You're going to need to know what your opponent's coming with, what your deck's weak to, what you want to block them using, and then you can really hold them off. So great artifact. Next up, Malefic Corn. It's 5 power creature, mutant. It's got 4 damage enhancements that have gone into the deck. After an enemy creature is dealt damage by a bonus icon, deal 1 damage to that creature. So if it's out in play, you're basically doubling up the impact of those bonus icons. So not only have you put 4 in the deck, but when those get played, if Malefic Corn is out, you're actually doing 2 damage rather than 1. So that's a handy little effect, and better than some of the creatures that put those enhancements in. There's a few creatures in Mass Mutations that just come with 2, 3, 4 enhancements, and that's it, and otherwise they're kind of pretty meh, they don't really do anything else. But here at least, not only have you got 4 decent damage pip enhancements going in, and it's a 5 power creature, but you're also getting a nice little bonus effect from it. Painmail upgrade. You can put this on a creature. This creature gains, after any player chooses this as their active house, put Painmail into its owner's archives and destroy this creature. So you get an amber pit for playing it. You're going to put it on a creature of your opponents you want to get rid of. If you call this on your next turn, or they call this, that creature gets destroyed, you get Painmail back in your archives, so you can keep recycling this. So this is a really nice way, particularly if you're going to be calling this quite a few times, to just knock out key opponents' creatures. Now, this is an interesting card. You can see immediately comes with 3 amber pips, so you know it's going to be something fairly powerful to play. Half a key coming with this card, but it's an action play, destroy 2 friendly creatures. Wow, I mean, 3 amber is not to be sniffed at, and destroying 2 friendly creatures, frankly, often 3 amber is worth more than that. Yeah, love this card. Certainly would like to see it. It's a rare, so you're not going to see too many of them in a deck. But if you get this, you can play this at any point in time. If you've got nothing on the board, you're not even killing anything, you're just getting 3 amber. Great card. Love it. Now another creature, it's Kitsune. It's got 1 power, but it's an Omega card, and not many Omega cards, Alpha and Omega cards in Mass Mutation, so that sort of makes it stand out. And then it's got this play effect, destroy each other creature. For each creature destroyed this way, give Kitsune a +1 power counter. So it's an Omega board wipe, but unlike something like Unlock Gateway, which was an Omega board wipe, Kitsune is still going to be on the board at the end of it, so it's not going to completely clear the board. Everything else will be gone. You'll have Kitsune, and depending on how many creatures, yours and your opponents, that have been destroyed, it will get a big power boost potentially. So you could see yourself clearing the board and leaving yourself with a 6 power creature, for example. That would be quite nice. Now, this is the other kind of really interesting artifact that this have in Mass Mutation. It's called the Pale Star, and it's got an Omni effect. Destroy the Pale Star. For the remainder of the turn, each creature is considered to have 1 power and 0 armor. So, that could be a way to really kill off your opponent's board. and there's all sorts of interactions and synergies that once you start thinking about what this does, could be super useful, because you're basically reducing everyone to 1 power. Whatever's going on, no armor, and of course there's plenty of cards with damage pips in Mass Mutation that do 1 damage, so that'll just take someone out straight away. So again, this is an interesting artifact, and I think if you can get the right combination of cards with it and set the right plays up, you could use this to great effect. I think it's going to need a bit of skill to get the most out of it, and you'll need the right deck, but I'm thinking that once this gets out in the wild, people will start coming up with some really nasty ways to use this to cause your opponent some problems. And now Turnkey. This is a 2-power creature with a really quite interesting effect, and I also really like the artwork with the kind of weird gyroscope, almost like body on the creature. So yeah, nice piece of artwork there. And the play effect here: play, unforge an opponent's key. If you do, when Turnkey leaves play, your opponent forges a key at no cost. So yeah, another stalling tactic. You unforge their key. It's not like break key where they get amber back and have to forge again, but basically if they kill off Turnkey, their key comes back instantly. So, you know, high risk, you know, gets you to unforge their key, but you know, unless you can protect Turnkey somehow, you're always at risk of them getting that key back pretty quickly. So there we go, that was a look through some of the new discards coming in Mass Mutation. And like I said, Mass Mutation out worldwide on the 10th of July, but already out in China, Taiwan and Hong Kong. The Master Vault's been updated, so we've now seen all of the cards that are coming in Mass Mutation. And I've just taken you through some of the most interesting ones in Dis. And I've got to say, I think Dis is the house that I'm probably going to be looking for in as many of my decks as possible. I think looking across the cards, the new cards and the reprints, it's got some great cards, really powerful cards. This has been good in every set. I mean, this has always been a strong house, but in Mass Mutation it's really standing out. Some of the other houses seem to have had their power toned down a bit. They haven't quite got as many synergistic cards, but I think the Sins stand out obviously. But even in the other cards in Dis, there's some really disruptive cards. There's some really interesting cards that can cause your opponent a lot of problems. Those artifacts like Eatons Jar could be complete game changers, and just overall I think this just looks like it's going to be strong. It looks like it's going to be a house where whatever combination of cards you get, they're going to be kind of good. No real weak links that I'm seeing in there. So yeah, Dis as a house, I'm sort of tipping to be one of the strongest houses, if not the strongest in Mass Mutation. It's got some really powerful cards there that you're going to want to see in your decks, and I just think compared to the other houses, it just looks like it's nudging out ahead. Now of course we'll have to wait and see. Let's wait and see when loads of people get their hands on decks, how it actually comes out in reality. So that's the end of this video. I really hope you've enjoyed it. You can check out all my other Mass Mutation spoiler videos looking at the other houses, looking at the new cards coming in those. Please do like this video if you've enjoyed it. Please do subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want to see more of my Keyforge content. You can also catch me at Forerata Live streaming on Twitch, so if you want to see me playing some games on the Crucible, please do that as well. Thank you very much for watching.